My name is Maria. I'm 18 years old now, but sometimes I feel much older. Life has a way of teaching you lessons no child should ever have to learn. I was born into a family that didn't stay together. My earliest memories are filled with silence, heavy, thick silence, and tension so strong it felt like it could break. When I was very little, my parents lived under the same roof. But they were like strangers sharing a space, their love lost somewhere between whispered arguments and cold silences. I remember the nights I lay awake, listening to their footsteps pacing the hall, muffled voices, doors softly closing and opening. I didn't understand what was wrong, but I felt it in my bones, something was breaking. Then one day, they told me they were separating. I was scared. I didn't cry. The world I knew shattered, and my mom held me tight, whispering, "It'll just be us now, Maria. We'll be okay." For a while, it was just the two of us. My mom became my whole world, my protector, my shield. She worked hard, sometimes too hard, waking before dawn and coming home long after dark, just to keep a roof over our heads and food on the table. But she also carried a sadness I couldn't understand. She never spoke about my father's family. When I asked, she said quietly, "They don't care about us. It's better you forget them." I obeyed. I kept my distance. But inside me was a quiet ache, a yearning to know who they were, to know if they missed me, if they ever thought about me. Years passed, and both my parents remarried. They moved on with their lives, new homes, new families. But I was left behind, alone in a small rented room, learning how to live without them. Living alone was harder than I ever imagined. No one checked if I had eaten. No one wished me good night. The silence was deafening, it could swallow you whole. But loneliness taught me something precious, strength. I learned to cook my own meals, do my own laundry, manage my money, all the things my parents never taught me because they were busy with their new lives. Sometimes, when the night felt cold and empty, I would sit by the window and watch the rain fall. I'd whisper to myself, maybe one day, I'll build the bridges they burned. Because being caught between two worlds doesn't mean you're lost. It means you're creating your own path. This is my story. The story of a girl who learned to stand alone, but never stopped dreaming of belonging. Living alone wasn't just about doing chores or paying bills. It was about feeling invisible in a world that seemed to move on without you. My mother tried to support me, but her new life demanded much of her time and heart. She had a new family, and I was somewhere in the background, a quiet part of her past she protected fiercely, but also pushed away. My father? He became a stranger. I called him a few times, hoping to hear his voice, but the calls went unanswered. His family, my father's relatives, were like ghosts in my life. I never met them, never heard their stories. My mother warned me to stay away, saying they didn't care, that I'd only get hurt. But I was curious. I remember one afternoon when I stood outside their house, hidden behind a tree, heart pounding. I wanted to knock on the door, to ask them who they were, to ask if they missed me. But fear held me back. I was caught between two worlds. On one side was my mother, protective, loving, but bitter and angry. She kept me safe, but also isolated. On the other side was my father's family, distant, silent, and unreachable. I wanted to belong. I wanted to feel the warmth of family, not the cold silence that followed me everywhere. Sometimes, I thought about running away, about disappearing into a place where no one knew me, where I could start fresh. But every time I felt like giving up, I reminded myself, you are stronger than your loneliness. I learned to build a world inside me, a world of dreams, hopes, and quiet courage. I studied hard, worked part-time jobs, and pushed through the loneliness one day at a time. And slowly, I began to understand that family isn't always about blood or proximity. Sometimes, it's about the strength to stand alone, and the hope to one day find where you truly belong. This chapter captures Maria's emotional struggles with the divided family, her loneliness, and her growing inner strength. Living alone meant learning everything the hard way. From cooking my first meal without burning it, to balancing my tiny budget, every day was a lesson in survival. I learned to wake up early, prepare myself for school or work, and push through exhaustion even when I wanted to give up. Some days, the weight of loneliness felt unbearable. But giving up was never an option. I discovered strength in the little things. Like the first time I cooked dinner for myself and didn't burn it. Or the night I stayed up late studying, telling myself, "This is for you, Maria. For your future." I started to believe that maybe, just maybe, I could build a life beyond the shadows of my broken family. My mother and I had our moments, sometimes filled with love, sometimes with tension. She loved me fiercely, but her bitterness sometimes made her harsh. She warned me about the world, about people who would hurt me. Her love was protective, but it also made me feel like I was walking on a thin line, caught between trust and fear. Sometimes, I wondered what my father's life was like. Did he think about me? Did he regret leaving? I tried to reach out once more, but silence answered me. That silence hurt, but it also fueled me. I promised myself that I wouldn't let anyone's absence define me. I studied hard, worked harder, and dreamed bigger. Every step forward was a quiet rebellion against the loneliness and the past. And through it all, I learned that standing alone doesn't mean being broken. It means being brave. Would you like me to continue with Chapter 4, Hope and Moving Forward next? Or would you like me to add more personal flashbacks, inner thoughts, or dialogues between Maria and her mother, father? Life is still hard. There are days when loneliness whispers louder than hope. But I've learned to listen to the quieter voice inside me, the one that says, keep going. I started to dream again. Not just about surviving, but about building a life I could be proud of. I applied to colleges, took extra shifts at work, and slowly, things began to change. Sometimes, strangers showed me kindness, a smile, a helping hand, little reminders that I wasn't as alone as I felt. My relationship with my mother grew complicated and beautiful at the same time. We fought, we cried, but we also laughed. She's not perfect, and neither am I. But we have each other. I imagined what it would be like to reconnect with my father's side, to find peace with the past. Maybe someday, I'll be brave enough to cross that bridge. But for now, I focus on what I can build. One day, I hope to stand on my own 2 feet, not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually. Because hope is the light I carry in the darkest nights. And I'm learning that moving forward doesn't mean forgetting. It means growing. Looking back, my journey hasn't been easy. I've carried loneliness like a heavy stone in my heart. But I've also carried something stronger, hope. I learned that family isn't always about who's there. Sometimes, it's about who stays in your heart, the people you choose, the love you hold on to. My mother and I, we're still healing. Our past is complicated, but so is our love. I never fully reconnected with my father's family. Maybe someday, maybe not. I don't know if I'll ever have all the answers. But I do know this: I am not defined by absence or silence. I am defined by the courage to stand alone, the strength to keep dreaming, and the choice to love myself through it all. Now, I'm ready to step into the future, with all its uncertainty, all its challenges, and all its promise. Because being alone was not the end of my story. It was the beginning of who I truly am. This is Maria's story. A story of loss, love, and the unbreakable spirit to rise. Thank you for listening.